Okay. Turning your Bibles to the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 1. I'm certain you've heard a message on this before. I'm going to talk to you about Daniel's purpose in his heart. But I chose this message for a reason. I have 3 points. And at the end of the third point, I'm going to describe to you in detail something that happened at Parkside Baptist Church 2 weeks ago. And it'll be a great help to you. So I'm going to begin reading in verse 1, if I can do all right here. I had to pull out my old Bible because it was an older sermon I had. Daniel chapter 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with part of the vessels of the house of God. That's the sanctified vessels, the golden vessels. That's why he took them, because of the gold, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and of the princes. 3 groups there. Look among the children of Israel, look among the king's bloodline, his seed, and the prince's bloodline, their children. Verse 4, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and notice the word tongue of the Chaldeans. They want to teach them their language, their home language, okay? And I want you to know, he's looking for the cream of the crop, okay? He's not looking for the leftovers. He's looking for the cream of the crop, because that's the ones he wants to train. Verse 5, and the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among them of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, I'm sorry, I'm not good with names, okay? Anyway, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they're going to have their names changed, okay? Verse 7. Unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names for he gave unto Daniel the name of Belshazzar and the others, okay? Verse 8. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore, he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now, you may be seated. Go ahead and sit down. That word purpose is a strong word. It's not a casual word. Purpose, you see, change comes naturally. Purpose comes intentionally. Purpose comes deliberately. So purpose is a strong word, not just casual. And I want you to understand that, because they're going to change some things in these young men. These are the cream of the crop. These are some righteous young men. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. In chapter 3, the only 4 that don't bow down to the false god. They're very righteous young people. And they're going to try and change them to what they want. So I want you to understand, purpose comes deliberately. It's a strong word. And Daniel purposed in his heart. Just going to give you 3 things to purpose. Number 1, purpose not to defile yourself. Purpose not to defile yourself. Some questions. Can you defile your body? Can you defile your human spirit? Can you defile your mind? He purposed, I'm not going to defile myself, because he knew what they were doing. He saw that you're going to have to eat this, and you're going to have to drink the king's wine, and we're going to teach you our language. There were some changes coming. Now, I want you to notice very carefully, Daniel had already, this wasn't just something Daniel had when he got there. This was something he had when he was over in Jerusalem. His ways, his righteousness, his right living. And he knows what's coming and what's going to be asked. And he doesn't say, I can't do that. That's not what he does. He responds, and this is important, with a creative alternative. I've used this particular principle here several times when I've been an assistant pastor, and I believe in pastoral leadership. And one of them involved my only daughter. Had a rough spot in her life, and the pastor and Brother Bob, the youth pastor, requested that after the incident, it was a rebellious incident, and they requested I said, I think you need to send her to a children's home, a home somewhere, a girl's home. And she was a junior in high school. And that was what, they were both in on the meeting, and that's what they told me. And Amy and I just didn't have peace about that. But I also believe in pastoral leadership. This principle right here, I can't do that. No, that's just not the way I think or whatever. No, Daniel put out to the leadership a creative alternative with his viewpoints in mind. Okay? How do you respond to your pastor when he tells you to do something and that's not really what I want to do? You come up with a creative alternative. Amy and I went into the pastor. We had a follow-up meeting, and we know this is what you suggested. And I'll be honest with you, Amy and I, we just have a few. We're troubled about that part of it, and we have an alternative for you to consider. And I have a pastor friend of mine in Mississippi who I'd called and asked him if she could come live with him for a while, and he said yes. So I mentioned that to Brother Gray, and he said, that'll work. That'll be fine. So learn something right here in how he's going to respond. A creative alternative. Okay? Now, but purpose. Don't be casual about it. Not to defile yourself. I work with a lot of defiled people. Some have grown up in Christian homes through the years that I've been in ministry, and they have allowed themselves to be defiled. That's my first point. Secondly, purpose not to bow down to other gods. Now, I don't believe anybody in here is going to physically bow down to a false god. But in a sense, when other philosophy, video games, movies, there's a lot of false gods other than just an image in front of you. And when you give them that time, and that's your time, the space in your mind, I consider that bowing down to false gods. Daniel purposed and said, I'm not going to defile myself. He put a creative alternative out there for the eunuch to consider. And by the way, God honored that because he said, just try us for a short period and so forth. And God, he said, man, y'all better than everybody else. So God honored that. And in chapter 3, they don't bow down to the false god. Purpose. Not casual. Intentional. I'm going to say it again. Change comes naturally. Purpose is deliberate. You know, purpose can define your life. Sports players, they have purpose about, especially professional ones, they have purpose about what they're doing. This is my life. It's going to define me. It's intentional with me. And by the way, let me say this. I believe we could say it, and these young men were like fundamental Baptist young men. They were from a fundamental Baptist church, so to speak. How did they try and change them? Number one, they tried to change their name. I'm a Baptist, okay? I got Baptist on the church. I'm not going to become a member of a church that doesn't have Baptist on it. They changed their name. You know how churches, Baptist churches have gone liberal? One of the things they do, they change their name. They change their name. I've served on staff in fundamental Baptist churches with some men that are no longer Baptists. So how are they going to change it? They're going to try and change their name. Secondly, they're going to change their language. You're going to come here and you're going to learn the tongue of us. They change their language. You know how Satan's going to try and change you? He's going to change your language. You're going to become casual about the slurs. Casual about the lingo. All right? I always have a problem when a pastor texts me and I send him a text. He'll say, "Hey, that's great, bro." Now me, I don't talk like that. I did before I was a Christian. I did when I was on the streets. It was bro this and bro that. But for me, that's not something I'm going to do because I came out of that. They change their name, they change their language, and some other things. But let's continue. All right? Now, don't bow down to false gods. And here's the third point. This is really the reason I'm preaching this message today and what I'm going to share with you. Purpose not to change your religious beliefs. Purpose not to defile yourself. Purpose not to bow down to other gods. And purpose not to change your religious beliefs. Intentional. Now, I'm going to share with you something that happened, and it'll be a help and a blessing to you 2 weeks ago on a Sunday. That particular day, there's one apartment complex over there. It's called People's El Shaddai. Locally, it's known as the Butterbeans. It's in the Oak Cliff community. Oak Cliff is a large area, but it's a black community. They call it the Oak Cliff community. In that particular apartment complex, I've been in there every week for the past 5 years. I've been going in there. I have a relationship there. I know many of the people there. The apartment is 100% government subsidized. In case you don't know what that means the government pays a portion of their rent. Their rent is based on their income. How much they pay is income based. The majority of the heads of household who the lease's name is in, the majority of them are females. The males tag along and have a place to say. But the majority of the people whose names are on the leases are females. And it's 100% government subsidized, and it's 100% black occupied. 100%. Never seen a white person in there other than the delivery van driver and myself. Never have. So in this apartment complex, that particular Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, I brought 22 people to church in my van. I had 20 that came from that one apartment complex. I had to make 2 trips in my van. So I've got the first trip, I bring them to the church. The church is only 5 or 6 minutes away. It's very close. I bring those there. They go into the fellowship hall in the back, and they're getting ready for Sunday school. And then I go to the apartment. I pick up the second group, which is mostly the teenagers. Let me tell you about a couple of teenagers that I finally let come that day. There's a new family that moved into one of the corner apartments there from Royal Crest. Timmy and Nick know Royal Crest. Brother Dale does a Bible club in Royal Crest. It's maybe a quarter mile away. They moved in, and the first time they saw me visiting, they said, "Hey, you from the church? Do you know Brother Dale? We just moved here from Royal Quest. We want to come to church with you sometimes." It was 4 young adult men, teenagers, and some children. And I said, "Okay, yeah, that'd be fine." Well, the Sunday before I picked them up, this has been three Sundays ago, the one of them comes out at the door of the corner, "Hey, I want to come to church with you today." I said, "Hey, you can't come until I talk to your mom first." So the door is open. There's 4 teenage young men standing there. Now, whether they're all hers, I don't know. They're trying to get, Mama's upstairs, and they're trying to get her. And I hear one of them use a cuss word. I said, "Well, you ain't coming." And then they talk, and another one says something, and I said, "Well, you ain't coming either. I just forget it. Ain't none of y'all coming today. Until I have a face-to-face with Mama, ain't none of y'all going to come." And I walked off. Well, this particular Sunday when I had 20, there was one of those, I don't know if he was one of the teenage young men. I'm not even sure which ones are cussing. But he came and he said, I said, "Well, you're from the corner apartment, right? You just moved here." He said, "Yes, sir." His name's Jaden. He says, "I want to come." I said, "Okay, I want to ask you a question." No, I'm sorry. First of all, I said, "I got to talk to your mama." So he calls his mom on the phone. And I'm talking to Mama on the phone, and I said, "Well, ma'am, I was at your apartment just the week before, and the 4 young men, I don't know if they were your children or not, but I heard them cussing." I said, "That's not what we're all about. They just go bring their cussing to church. That's not what I'm looking for." And she said some other things. I couldn't understand what she was saying. I gave the phone back to Jaden. And then I said, "Jaden, I'm going to ask you a question. If we tell you to sit here or move here, are you going to have an attitude about that?" Because I've kind of found out that that's the one question I can ask to really test them, is that question right there. And he looked at me. He said, "No, sir. I'll be okay. I'll do what you want. First time to come." I said, "Okay, you can come." And the kids came. And I'm telling you, there were, I don't know how many people live in that apartment. I'm not sure. There were 5 children that came, and Jaden, the teenager. And one of the girls, before he even got out of the parking lot, had to turn around and take one of the children back. She was saying something, and I said, "Well, I'm taking you back home." And so, I don't know, maybe that was a good thing. But anyway, we get to church. Pastor Smith lets me know that one of the girls who's used to come to Victory Baptist Church, the church plant, when he went in there, she was in the first group I brought. When he went in there, she had some headphones on that she had gotten from Christmas, and he asked her to take them off, and she did. And when he left the room, she put them back on. When he came back in the second time, he said, "Give me your phone." She said, I'm not going to do that." And he was making me aware of that, and he said, "Don't bring her back next week. We'll be okay this week, but don't bring her back next week." I said, "Yes, sir." So church is going on. I'm sitting on the platform on this side. Brother Willie's preaching, and he's preaching out of Daniel chapter 3. And it was just interesting how God worked all this out. You know, he's preaching about young men standing up for God, wanting better things for their life and stuff like that. I'm sitting over here, and the pastor's adult daughter comes over and taps me on the shoulder and says, "We need you outside." So I'm heading outside the door, and I'm going outside the door. This young girl who had the headphones on is coming inside, and that's the way she's acting. Well, hey, I've been there. I know what that means. I remember when that undercover narcotics officer came and knocked on the door of the Chinese restaurant I worked at, and he said, "You tell Jeff Walters he's got 15 minutes to come out or I'm coming in to get him." That's the exact same way I walked out of that building right there. I can't get my way. And the pastor's wife met me, and she said this. She said, "There's a man out here wants to pick I'm not going to say her name, but picks the child up, wants to pick the child. The child's about 13 years old, pick the child up." I said, "Okay." What happened, well, let me back up to tell you who this man is in just a minute. There is in the Oak Cliff area. The apartment complex is here. About 3 blocks down, there's a little shopping center. It's got a wash house there where they wash their clothes, an eating place, that kind of stuff. And there is an Oak Cliff Empowerment Center. That's a front for a Muslim mosque. They don't put Muslim in there. They put Oak Cliff, which is the Community Empowerment Center. And when I went out to the car, he's in the car by himself, I recognized the emblem on his sweats. I didn't tell him I knew who he was. He's in the car, got the window rolled down, and he's got tattoos all up over here. I mean, just any piece of skin I could see, there were tattoos on him. His name was Brandon. And he said, the young lady texted me. She wanted me to pick her up. I said, well, tell me who you are. I'm Brandon. I'm from the Oak Cliff Empowerment Center. We meet with, on Tuesday nights, we meet with young ladies and children and young ladies, and we have a mentoring and life skills class for the young ladies. On Thursday, we have the same thing for young men. And on Sundays after lunch, we feed them and we do video games and have a time with them. And the whole time they have that fun. They're pushing that Muslim doctrine into their heads. And they exploit, from my perspective, I'll get back to Brandon in a minute, they exploit the racial issue. By that, I mean the history of the racial issue in our country. And by that, I mean the tension between black and white in our country. In that community, they exploit it. It just boggles their mind that a white man is trying to reach the black people. The Muslims are targeting those black youth. But that's one of the avenues they exploit, the racial issue, and they use it for their benefit. Secondly is the no fathers in the home. Yeah. They use that to exploit and try and befriend and reach out to the 100% black folks in that apartment complex. And thirdly, the mothers who are trying to hold it all together, who are trying to work and make everything work and go. They exploit those things to come in and they befriend them and things like that. That's what I see they used to try and get into their lives. So Brandon's sitting in the car and he tells me, he said, Armani texted me. I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to tell you one thing right now. She ain't going nowhere with you. He said, oh, no, I'm different. I know the way I look. My life is different now. I said, it don't matter how you look, Brandon. I picked her up. She's my responsibility. And there is no way she's going to go with you. And he talked. He said, I didn't think you'd let me come, but listen to me. He came over there to try and get one of our young ladies. He came to an independent Baptist church in a car to try and pick up one of our young ladies. And I found out Armani goes there on Tuesday nights. And her mom. They go there for those classes. So there is a relationship. And if we would have let her, Armani would have got in the car with no other female, just a man. And I don't know, I guess it went down to the Muslim center. I don't know if we'd have let her. And she was upset that we didn't. So, man, he goes on, and I'm walking back in the church. Boy, and I'm ticked off. I might have been in the flesh, I don't know, but inside I'm going, I just can't believe it. One of these guys coming down here trying to get one of our girls. So I'm going in, and when I get inside, I got to hurry. Pastor Smith is, he's doing the invitation of the church. And I come in, and I said, Pastor Smith, can I do something at the invitation time? He said, go ahead, Brother Jeff. I got to the pulpit, and I said, this sermon this morning was about young men that stood. It was Daniel chapter 3, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They stood. They wanted something better for their life. They didn't bow down. They stood. If you're a young man in this room today. This is a call just for you. I want you, and you want something better for your life, and you want to stand up for God. You come stand down this altar right here. And Pastor Smith, we're going to get in a circle. Pastor Smith's going to pray for you. 15 young men came down. And one of them was Jaden, the new one. He came down. And they came down. For me, it was just a way of, how am I going to combat this? See, I can't fight the Muslims like this. But it's going to make me more intense about my relationship with the people in there. And Pastor prayed. And afterwards, Jaden, first time there, he looked up at Brother Smith. He said, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Never had a problem out of them at all. It was just a good spirit among the young men there that morning. Purpose not to change your religious beliefs. Amen. I believe what I believe. This incident, oh, by the way, I went and talked with Imani's mom afterwards. I don't know if Imani was lying to me or not. When I dropped her off, she said, Mama's not home right now. I said, okay. Well, I went back that afternoon and talked to her. I've never seen a husband or a man in the home. And she came to the door, and she knew about the incident. Imani had told her. But see, they go there on Tuesday nights for those classes. They got prayer. When I was in Nigeria, folks, Nigeria is Muslim and Christian. They coexist in a lot of ways, except where the Boko Haram is up in the northwestern part. When it's Friday time for prayer, we were in a car. I mean, they stop right there. They get right out in the middle of the road, and they're bowing down praying. I mean, you can't go nowhere. You got to stop. It's what they do. They do it in New York City. No wonder they elected a mayor like they did. They stop in traffic and pray. They got those rugs in there. It's a front for a Muslim mosque. And they're trying to get their hooks in these young people. And it's just it made me mad, I'll be honest with you. But the more I've thought about it, I wonder how they'd feel if I went up there to try to get one of their kids. But he came, and he was going to try. He was intense about what he believed. So purpose not to defile yourself. Purpose not to bow down to false gods. And purpose not to change your religious beliefs. Don't change them. Don't change them. All right, I got to stop. It's time. Brother, I'll let you come, sir.